Hello and welcome, community partners. Thank you very much for joining us today on our fourth module of the year. My name is Ana Cristina and I'm your training coordinator here at CPOP. Today's training topic is OHP immigration eligibility. Let's get started. The objective of today's module is that we will review a couple things related to immigration when it comes to the Oregon Health Plan. First, we will provide the OHP benefit levels. We will then share and talk about what non-citizen eligibility for children is, as well as what non-citizen eligibility for adults is. We will provide what additional requirements must be met. We'll talk about what the refugee medical program is, and we will help you and teach you on how to enter non-citizen information into the One Applicant portal. We will share information about the marketplace, and last, we will provide you with some immigration resources that might be helpful for applicants or members coming into your office. OHP benefit levels. The Oregon Health Plan, OHP, has different benefit levels. Each benefit level determines the benefit package and services OHP recipients are eligible to receive. Benefit levels. There are two benefit levels here shown on screen, number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is non-citizen eligibility is just one part of the eligibility determination process. Just because an individual meets non-citizen requirements, it does not mean that the individual is automatically eligible for the Oregon Health Plan. They still must meet all other eligibility factors like other applicants. The purpose of non-citizen eligibility determination is to determine what benefit level the individual would be eligible for. The benefit package, which determines what services are covered, is based on the benefit level. If otherwise eligible, if non-citizen requirements are met, like shown on number 1, the individual will be eligible for OHP plus benefits. This is the most comprehensive benefit package. Number 2, if non-citizen requirements are not met, then age and pregnancy become factors in determining the appropriate benefit level. For the first one is that for non-pregnant adults, they would be eligible for the limited citizen waived medical, which is CALM benefit. Pregnant adults would be eligible for the CALM plus benefit, which is almost comparable to the OHP plus. And for the second bullet, as you can see, that shows that children under the age of 19 are eligible for the Cover All Kids tax benefit, which is comparable to OHP plus. Non-citizen eligibility for children. Effective January 1st, 2018, Senate Bill 558 in 2017 opened the Oregon Health Plan, OHP, to more children and teens younger than 19, regardless of their immigration status. The Senate Bill 558 population includes those with deferred action of childhood arrivals, which is DACA, or undocumented status, and those previously eligible only for citizen alien medical, which is CALM or CALM plus for pregnant teens or children. Non-citizen eligibility is a lot easier to determine if children than or adults if otherwise eligible. OHP is open to all children and teens under age 19, regardless of their immigration status or lack of immigration status, who meet income and other eligibility criteria. If the child is lawfully present, meaning the child has an immigration status or immigration documentation granting the child legal presence in the United States, if the child meets non-citizen requirements, eligible for OHP plus benefits. No additional non-citizen requirements, such as the 5-year bar, also referred to as a 5-year waiting period, is required to be met. If otherwise eligible, lawfully present children are eligible for OHP plus benefits. Information about their immigration documentation must be provided still to the Oregon Health Plan. If the child is not lawfully present, the child will be eligible for CAC, which is the Cover All Kids program, if otherwise eligible. This applies to undocumented children and children who have been granted deferred action for childhood arrival, which is DACA. CAC, which is Cover All Kids, is the state-funded program that provides these children with OHP plus comparable benefits. Take note that it may be helpful to share that that from an applicant member perspective, there is no difference in OHP Plus and CAC benefits, since they both provide the same services. From an administrative perspective, the difference is the funding source. So basically just where the funding is coming for both of the programs. And that's for the CAC program as well as for the OHP Plus. Non-citizen eligibility for adults. Non-citizen eligibility for adults requires more factors to be considered compared to children and can take one of the three paths shown on the screen. So as you can see here on the screen, we have three sections. One is the immigration status type, the benefit level, if otherwise eligible, and on the far right, the need to provide immigration documents. So here, those let you know if they need to provide documentation or not. For the first one, if immigration status alone meets non-citizen requirements, the individual is eligible for OHP Plus benefits if all eligibility requirements are met. Information about the immigration document must be provided for verification purposes. For number two, if the immigration status is one of where an additional requirement must be met, the individual would be OHP Plus eligible if an additional requirement is met and all other eligibility requirements are met. Otherwise, the individual will be eligible for CALM or CALM Plus if pregnant, and regardless of the benefit level outcome, these individuals must provide information about their immigration documentation or verification purposes. And for the last part, number three, if the immigration status does not meet non-citizen requirements, the individual will only be eligible for CALM or CALM Plus if pregnant. These individuals are not subject to immigration verification requirements and therefore are not required to provide information about their immigration documentation, if they have any. Because, I just want to let you guys know that because the eligibility for non-citizen eligibility for adults is a little more complex than for children, the following slide will continue to talk about information regarding non-citizen eligibility for adults. Here, as you can see, we have immigration statuses that meet non-citizen requirements, and they are immersion Vietnamese, asylees, refugees, Cuban, Haitian intern, and parolee, special immigrant visa holder, so anybody from Iraq or Afghanistan, approved for deportation being withheld or withholding a removal, citizen of Compact of Free Association, which is the COPA, American Indians born in Canada, victim of human trafficking, and this is all effective October 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2023, or parole end date, a citizen national of Afghanistan paroled into the United States between July 31st, 2021 through September 30, 2022. This also includes individual spouse, individuals' unmarried children under the age of 21. So basically, this slide identifies the basic immigration statuses types that automatically meet non-citizen requirements. This means that no additional requirements, such as meeting the 5-year bar waiting period, applies to these statuses. As a reminder, if otherwise eligible, these individuals are OHP Plus eligible. Next is immigration statuses requiring an additional criteria to be met. Lawful permanent resident, which is the LPR, conditional entry, approval of pending prima facie determination, which is about our spouse, child, or family member, and then parole, either granted for at least 1 year. Specifically for parolees, this only applies to paroled granted for at least 1 year. Immigration statuses that do not meet non-citizen requirements are these shown on the screen. Individuals with these immigration statuses do not meet non-citizen requirements for OHP Plus benefits. The additional criteria discussed in the prior slides do not apply to these immigration statuses, with one exception. If approved for withholding or removal of deportation being withheld, the individual meets non-citizen requirements for the Oregon Health Plan OHP Plus benefits. Specifically for those who are paroled with a parole term or less than a year, these individuals do not meet non-citizen requirements. However, if the individual is from Cuba or Haiti, the individual is treated the same manner as a Cuban Haitian entrant or parolee, thus meeting non-citizen requirements as previously discussed. A documentation providing the individual is from Cuba or Haiti will help with the verification process. Additionally, special immigrant visa holders who are not from the Iraq or Afghanistan do not meet non-citizen requirements. If from Iraq or Afghanistan, the individual automatically meets non-citizen requirements as previously discussed. Though not all status N1, undocumented, or DACA also fits in this category. Answering no to the question, does, and then you name the individual, have one of the immigration statuses listed below, will result in the individual being treated as no documentation or /DACA. So as you can see here on the screen, asylum pending, parole granted for less than 1 year, if not from Cuba or Haiti, special immigrant visa holder, so if not from Iraq or Afghanistan, non-immigrants, example, student visa, tourist visa, work visa, visitor visa, as well as visa petition approved, so pending application for adjustment of status. And then the other one would be other immigration documentation. Please take note that if approved for withholding or removal of deportation being withheld, non-citizen requirements are considered met. Additional requirements that must be considered met are the statuses that will need to meet additional requirements in order to be eligible for OHP plus benefits. Individuals with the immigration statuses identified on the previous slide are subject to the 5-year bar waiting period. That means that they must have been granted that immigration status for at least 5 years unless they meet any of the exceptions here on the screen. So the first one is that they entered the United States before August 22, 1996. So this is a question on the OHP application 7210 form. The next one is the individual, their spouse or parents are in the active duty of the United States military or were honorably charged. They were approved for withholding, removal, or deportation being withheld. They previously had an immigration status that automatically meets non-citizen requirements and adjusted their immigration status to one of the 4 statuses. For example, the individual first entered as a U.S. as a refugee or asylee, and then adjusted their immigration status to let's say LPR status, then that would mean that they previously had an immigration status that automatically meets non-citizen requirements. If the individual meets the 5-year bar or an exception to the 5-year bar, non-citizen requirements are considered met, and if otherwise eligible, would get OHP plus benefits. Adults with these immigration statuses who do not meet an additional requirement do not meet non-citizen requirements and therefore would only be eligible for CALM or CALM plus if they are pregnant. Next, we'll talk about the Refugee Medical Program, which we refer to as REPS. So the Medical Refugee Program is designed to assist non-citizens who fled their country and are resettling in the United States. The Refugee Medical Program is an OHP plus medical program. The program is open to individuals who have been admitted or paroled with one of the following verifiable immigration statuses. So these are the ones that show here on the screen with bullets. So the first one is refugee, asylum granted, Cuban Haitian entrant or parolee, victim of human trafficking, family member with T visa, immersion, Iraqi or Afghan special immigrant visa, which is a SIC holder. And having one of these status will trigger one to evaluate the refugee medical program. As a note, not many individuals are found eligible for the refugee medical program for several reasons. And this is typically because they are found eligible for different medical programs. Because the refugee medical program is the last program on the hierarchy. So if eligible for a preceding program such as MAGI adult program, then the individual does not proceed further down from the program hierarchy to the to be evaluated for the refugee medical program. The other program requirements that must be met, such as income and resource limits, still apply, and the refugee medical program is only available during the limited window of time when the individual first enters the United States. So within the one system, refugee medical falls under medical programs. And just to let you know that effective October 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2023, or through the end of their parole, and a citizen or national Afghanistan paroled into the United States between July 31st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, falls into these refugee medical programs and these bulleted statuses. So this would also include their spouse of the individual, also unmarried children under the age of 21 for this individual. Next, we'll talk about the Oregon eligibility for the one system, and we'll talk about entering non-citizen information into the one applicant portal. So we're going to talk about what do we enter into the one applicant portal system. We will just go over what information is needed to be entered for the non-citizen in the one applicant portal section. So entering personal information. So here we're going to specify a reason why applicant is not providing a social security number. Option to select I do not know the number is an option, but just to let you guys know that if you select I do not know the number, this will pend the applicant case as a social security is required for someone that is requesting benefits, which may create complications for database member matching later on. You would then select other if the individual is not a U.S. citizen or does not have a social security. And this slide, as well as the following ones, are related to the data collection for non-citizens. Individuals who are not requesting medical assistance, basically just applying for their children, only do not need to provide a social security or attest to whether they are a citizen, U.S. citizen or not. So here's the data collection for non-citizens. Required questions about immigration. If an applicant has a status on this list, they will be asked for additional information, and selecting no for United States citizen triggers the display of additional questions regarding the individual's non-citizen status. So you will need to answer required questions, the ones that are in the red asterisk, and the citizen identity verification screen when determining eligibility for non-citizen Oregonians indicate that the applicant or member is not a U.S. citizen on the citizen identity verification screen. So as you can see here on the screen, if we put that Mary is not a citizen, it will then trigger additional questions, which is does Mary have any of the immigration status listed below? So if the applicant has any of the statuses listed below, you would say then yes or no, and then that would trigger another screen once you click next, which will be this one. So populated additional fill-in questions. When someone has one of the immigration statuses shown on the previous screen, it will populate additional fill-in questions. For this example, we're using lawful permanent resident, so LPR status, and these questions help us determine if the 5-year bar applies or not to that person. I do want to let you guys know the application guide is a great guide to make sure we are entering the correct information on these immigration screens in the applicant portal. And as you can see here on our example, we put that Joe has an lawful permanent residence, and so we specify that here. We also put in the date that his status was granted, and then we can also put the country of origin. Note that those two questions don't have a red asterisk, so they don't need to be filled out. But a lot of times, if you do have the documents in front of you, feel free to fill it out. Next, talking about the populated additional fill-in questions. As you can see here, now we did put them. So this is for Mary. So we put in lawful permanent residence, that she was status granted 9/1/2020, and her country of origin is Mexico. So additional questions will populate for lawful permanent residence status. These questions will help us determine which applicants are eligible for full OHP benefits. And then, like I said, application guide can be helpful, and you can find it here by clicking where it says here. This is basically the application guide is a great tool to make sure you are entering the correct information into the One Applicant portal. And these questions will allow to correct eligibility determination for applicants. Any personal information shared will not be reported to other agencies, so make sure to tell that to the applicants. That way they can feel safe that, you know, it's a safe place that when we're providing this their information to OHP, that will not be shared with any other agency. If an applicant has an immigration document, select the document type and fill in additional information. If name and or date of birth vary in the document from what is reported in the application, please clarify it here. So that all is, basically that's all for our mini dive-in into the immigration as to what to enter in the One Applicant portal. I do want to let you know that there are red asterisks all over the specific questions that need to be answered in order to move forward. But there's also some spots that don't have red asterisks. Having said that, it's always a recommendation to it's always better just to provide the information that it is asking, even if it does not have a red asterisk. Having said that, once again, I don't want you to stop and wait until you obtain that information. It is only that if you have that information in front of you in that moment, feel free to fill it out. The more information you enter into the system, the higher the probabilities of getting an RFI at the end of the application, and so it's just better. Also, I do want to take for you to look at this. So our example for today is a permanent resident card, so LPR. And so that's what we would put, right? So we would put what says on the arrow, red arrow, the I-551, which is a permanent resident card. And then down below, it says alien number. So take a note of that number, as we will talk about it later on in this module. Non-citizen details, so immigration documents. Utilize all historical and hard copy non-citizen documentation available to capture documentation details in the immigration documents field located at the bottom of the non-citizen detail screen. If the individual is required to have their immigration information verified, entering all required information about the immigration document will generally trigger the verification process systemically. An immigration request for information will be generated if more information is needed from that applicant. Non-citizen details, so documentation that is provided. If a non-citizen applicant reports an immigration status other than no documentation, enter all non-citizen information available in the non-citizen type information field located at the top of this non-citizen detail screen. And then next, I'm going to talk to you about identifying the information in an LPR card. So as you can see, here's an example of an LPR card. The left picture is the front part of the card, and then the right picture is the back part of the card. So as you can see on the first left picture, you'll be able to find the name, the last name, and if you turn over, you'll be able to find the alien number. So that is what we were talking about. So that circled number is the alien number. It can also be, it can also start with like SRC or any other lettering. In this example, as you can see here on the screen, it starts with LIN. And this is a field that does not have an asterisk, like I mentioned. But if you already have that information in front of you, just enter it. Go ahead and enter it into the system. Like I said, the more information you enter into the system, the higher the probabilities of not getting an RFI at the end of the application. But once again, don't wait until you have that documentation, especially if you don't have an asterisk, just move forward. And then I do want to repeat once again that immigration documentation types can be found on page 6 of the application guide. Just a couple of the reminders that we want to share with you guys is that for non-citizen details, immigration documents, also utilize all historical and hard copy non-citizen documentation available to capture documentation details in the immigration document field located at the bottom of the non-citizen details screen. Next, we're going to talk about the marketplace. So when someone is not eligible for the Oregon Health Plan benefits due to not meeting the 5-year bar or high income or any other disqualifying reason, they can apply for the marketplace. So we want to share a couple of information in regards to the marketplace, and that is that most individuals and families have immigrated to the United States are eligible for coverage through the marketplace. And this includes U.S. citizen, U.S. nationals, lawfully present immigrants, but note that people who have immigrated to the United States under the Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals, such as DACA, rural and undocumented immigrants are not eligible to buy marketplace health coverage or for additional savings, but can apply for coverage on behalf of eligible people. More on the marketplace is that financial help is available to people who enroll in health coverage through the marketplace. Savings are available on monthly premiums and out-of-pocket costs on a sliding scale, and many people in Oregon qualify for the Oregon Health Plan, so Oregon's Medicaid program. However, if the adult has an immigration status and will only be eligible for CALM benefits, then the individual is eligible to purchase coverage through the marketplace. If you are in the 5-year period, you can enroll in coverage through the marketplace and get significant financial savings. So the best way to see about what programs and plans are available to the applicants that are coming in to see you and how much you can and they are able to save is to visit the 2022 Health Plan Comparison Tool for individuals and families. Next, we want to share a couple resources with you that we have found, and a couple immigration resources that we want to share with you is that are available to the public, and these are shown on the screen. We highly recommend you going into these and saving them into your browser to refer them when needed. The first one is list of pro bono legal services providers for non-citizens from USCIS, Oregon Immigration Resource, Informed Immigrants, CAUSA, which is Oregon's Immigrant Rights Organization, and then we have the Oregon Law Center. If you have any questions, please make sure to contact your Regional Outreach Coordinator, which is your ROC, with any follow-up questions after watching this module. Reminder, this module is available to you at any time in our training section in group sites. And thank you so much once again for joining us today on our monthly module for 2022. Please invite colleagues to register for monthly modules. Take care.